After playing an early version of this game based on the upcoming movie, it'd be easy to think the hero, Beowulf, may suffer from a bit of an identity crisis. His game is basically a clone of Sony's God of War titles. Of course, that may not necessarily be a bad thing, considering how great that series is. Beowulf is shaping up to be your basic hack-and-slash third-person action game, with all the cinematic trappings that have become the norm in this genre ever since EA released its first Lord of the Rings game. The camera sweeps around to ever more dramatic angles as you work your way through the super linear levels, beating on enemies and scrambling over environmental obstacles and solving the odd puzzle or two. The fighting system in Beowulf is fairly straightforward. You'll spend a lot of time doing standard 2-button combos against all sorts of enemies. Beowulf can also grab his enemies, which switches the game to a quick-time interaction, not unlike those seen in God of War. In this early version of the game, those button-pressing segments have some brutal timing requirements, but there's plenty of time for this sort of thing to be tweaked before the game's released. Thrown into the mix is a fighting option called Carnal Fury. After building up the Fury meter and triggering this mode, Beowulf basically goes into a killing rage. And while that may make getting out of some impossible situations a bit easier, it comes with a moral price. When Beowulf triggers Carnal Fury, the screen turns red, and it becomes next to impossible to discern friend from foe. Visually, it looks as though Beowulf is set to deliver. Just seeing the giant sea serpents gliding silently through the water in the opening level is enough to tell you that the production values of the game are generally excellent. The only snag in this preview copy is the animation. Beowulf himself looks a tad uncomfortable while running through each level, and close-ups of the faces during dialogue also show the game needs another pass of polish before release.
If my skin bag were as big as your ego, Beowulf, I'd be the richest man of the Northlands.
At first glance, Beowulf looks like nothing but a very pretty God of War clone, and no doubt that was the foundation for what Ubisoft's Taiwak studio has built here. But once you scratch the surface and see what's going on underneath the shiny veneer, it's safe to say that this is one action game with a whole lot of potential.